Om Sthapakaya cha dharmasya sarvadharma swarupine avatara varishtaya Ramakrishnaya te namaha. Jananim Sharadam Devim Ramakrishnam Jagadgurum Padapadme Tayo Sritva Pranamami Muhurmuhu. Namasri Yatirajaya Vivekananda Suraye Satchit Sukasvarupaya Swamine Tapaharine. So, last time when we finished the reading, Thakur was talking about the 4 types of souls: the ever free, the struggling souls, and those who never think of God. That's like the Baddha Jeev. They say they are bound souls. Like the fish, when the fisherman casts his net, they are inside, but they bury their head deep inside, thinking that they are quite safe there. But then when he pulls the net, they come out along with that, and that's the end of their life. So, that means it's very difficult for such people to think of any redemption or going forward in spiritual life, etc. So that's why he says that the bound souls never think of God. If they get any leisure, they indulge in idle gossip and foolish talk, or they engage in fruitless work. Now this you make small. I don't have to be, I would like to see everybody. To make it the normal mode, Who is changing it? It's okay. So,
sorry, Maharaj, I have changed it.
This is, see, Ramakrishna is downright practical, and yet such a deep sense of observation, It's typical, not only about the extremely bound souls. Even if you honestly examine the lives of most of us, do we have that urgency? When you have time, immediately we rush to God or we rush to do some spiritual practice? No. So, we are not that bad as that we never think of God or anything like that. But then he says, no, if there is any time, if you have any occasion, are you ready to really go for sadhana? Spend it that way. That's very important. See, many people complain, all of us complain, there is not enough time, there's too much of work, too much of other responsibilities. It's all really not true at all. See, those early days of Belur Math, there used to be very few monastics. It's a sprawling campus, some 30, 40 acres or even more. The whole thing has to be kept clean, the sweeping, picking up all the garbage, etc. And drinking water, they would have to fetch from 4 or 5 kilometers, that distance. But they never compromised on spiritual practice. Daytime, it's not just sitting in office or sitting in front of computer and thing. Hard, back-breaking labor in the daytime. But night, they would sit. Because they have not done their what they were supposed to do, the amount of time in japa and meditation, they would sit. So, unless there is that kind of an extreme urgency for spiritual life, it is not possible to make any significant progress. Many of us are good people, maybe ethical and moral, have some devotion also, participate in all that. We do a little reading, maybe a little japa. But then the type of intensity that Sri Ramakrishna talks about, that, that kind of urgency, do you feel about spiritual life? When time hangs heavy on their hands, they perhaps start playing cards. There is deep silence in the room. Why? Because somewhere or other people are feeling that connect. In some way or other he is pointing out to us. We may not be that kind of terribly bound souls, but we are also bound in the sense that do we really use all the time at our disposal in that kind of spiritual striving or practice? That is the real question. Then a devotee asks, probably Master Masha himself, sir, is there no help then for such a worldly person? Master Masha was not at all worldly. He was a sadhaka, no doubt. He was also caught up in so many things. he had a family, he had a wife and children and his own mother, and constant fight in the house between his wife and his own mother. And then he had big responsibility in the school. All typical any, that time, that period, household, whatever one can imagine. So he's asking, is there no hope for such people then? That's one thing you will find in Sri Ramakrishna's Kathamrita, entire book is always positive. You never say that, no, it's not possible, not possible. You will never, not that. It always come back with something positive. Even in the very first meeting, when he expressed such deep exasperation, oh Ramlal, or he has got married. And then he says, do you have children? And with great trepidity he was saying, yes. Oh, he has children too. You thought that have I committed any tremendous unpardonable crime like a murder or anything like that? Then also Sri Ramakrishna would immediately says, but I see some spiritual signs in you. I see some spiritual signs in you. That's what he said. So on another occasion, it would come, that another occasion, sometime, somewhere in this text. One day, the Master Moshe is asking, what happens if the wife is not at all towards any spiritual life or has no such inclination or anything like that? Because throughout this book, although Master Moshe was coming very frequently to Sri Ramakrishna, we hardly find any mention of Mrs. Master Moshe coming and talking to Sri Ramakrishna, meeting and all that. Probably she had a lot of problems. She tried to commit suicide once or twice and all that. So if the wife is completely not inclined to a spiritual life, what should one do like that? And immediately in front of everybody, Sri Ramakrishna, bang, he hits him. Give up such a sansar. Master Moshe was stunned because he was the only breadwinner. If he used to give up and come away, people would die of starvation. So he was speechless. But then Sri Ramakrishna comes very near him and in his ears, no one else hears, it was for general. He says, you see, if a person is deeply inclined towards God, then a cruel king, a wife which is not spiritually inclined, everything would come in his favor. If you have really that kind of a deep longing for God, if you have love for God, if you really seek Him, everything will get arranged in your favor. Really, it's all great snippets of spiritual advice for all of us. We often complain about external circumstances. So-and-so is like that, house is like that, relatives are like that. Everything would get organized, provided we really seek it from the depth of our heart. Certainly there is. From time to time, he should live in the company of holy men, and from time to time, go into solitude to meditate on God. Everywhere, several times, Master Moshe has asked this question. Again and again, he would ask, again and again, in combination, solitude and calling on God, or something else, spending some time alone, doing. Everywhere you find that satsanga and nirjan vas, this combination would come in some form or other. So here he says, should live in the company of holy men, and from time to time go into solitude to meditate on God. Actually, why again Sri Ramakrishna also talks about this holy company. In your own little understanding, you find that we are what our company really makes. That's why ashramas, monks, other devotees who are inclined towards God, they are all so important in our life. Left to ourselves, we will grow like wild weeds only. But if you are in the company of such people, see, that would remind us, seeing them you would find, oh, I should also do, I should also practice. And when you meet such people in such company, there will be at least some discussion about Thakur, Man, Swamiji, our own, some other this thing. So, in some way or other, there will be some talk about spiritual life, about things beyond this normal mundane world, etc. So, this satsanga, sadhusanga is a great a motivation for us to turn spiritual. Then solitude, again and again, Thakur emphasizes. Why? Because we are constantly in a particular ambience or surroundings, it's very difficult to think beyond that. Because every time somebody or other will come, telephone will come, then some parcel will come, the postman will come, or the dog has to be looked after, something or other will always be there. So if you tear yourselves from away all that and go somewhere else, even for a few days, provided we have that kind of a mind, one of our great Swamis used to say, 3 types of monks they sent for tapasya. One who are terribly of the nature of fighting and can't adjust anywhere, they are sent. Or someone who has done something wrong is to be sent. Or very rarely those who are deeply inclined to spiritual life, who have deep desire for intense sadhana, they also get a chance to go. So not all you go, all those who go for tapasya, etc., spend their time like that. First of all, a lot of preparation is needed. No, the mind should be like that. Otherwise, even if you go into solitude, if you keep on thinking about what we have left behind, obviously we will not be able to use the time properly. In these days, there is so much of pressure and tension and the necessity to deliver, achieve targets and so on. People go on leave. Mostly they come back more stressed because during the entire vacation, they were constantly on phone call, they were constantly talking to somebody, constantly they were thinking about how they will finish the year, whether their appraisal will be okay and all that. So if you have a little preparedness, yes, that is where one can ideally go and spend some time, because going away from very familiar circumstances would certainly help us to do more sadhana, because there's less of distraction. And moreover, inwardly there is that urge, oh, I have come away, I have given up everything specifically for this purpose. Should I not spend my time in a worthy manner and all that? So there will be some introspection. That's why Thakur again would say that one has to spend at least some time. He says 1 month, 10 days, 3 days, even 1 day. He says okay. Anything is okay. Furthermore, should practice discrimination and pray to God. Viveka. Give me faith and devotion. See, again, often many of us suffer from our faith is very superficial and surface level. It's not that deep. So he says, even for faith, one can pray to God. Pray to Him that I develop faith, I develop deep devotion. Because you see, faith, when will you trust somebody? When will you have faith in somebody? Only when we know the other person thoroughly, clearly, beyond doubt, is fully acquainted with that person. We know every bit about that person. So for us, God is just a name, another nomenclature, a word. You have heard something, maybe you have read a little, maybe you have heard something in some ashrama, in some text, something like that, or from childhood we have been exposed to some of these ideas. But for that to become a deep, abiding factor of our life, abiding element of our life, we need to become little closer, little more intimate, to know about God, so as to trust Him, so as to believe, yes, it's possible. Because again and again, our scriptures, our texts, all again and again say how faith can be a great redeemer. But then he says, even for faith one can pray to God. I don't have devotion. Pray to God. Give me devotion. Give me faith. Once a person has faith, has achieved everything, there's nothing greater than faith. It's possible, he says. People have seen. There have been so many instances in our spiritual lore where people have been really uplifted, saved from impossible situations just because they had that deep, abiding faith in God. To Kedar, you must have heard about the tremendous power of faith. It is said in the Purana that Rama was God himself, the embodiment of absolute Brahman, had to build a bridge to cross Ceylon. Rama had to build a bridge, Setu Bandhan. Otherwise, a huge army had to take across Lanka. It is a huge ocean. But Hanuman trusting in Rama's name, cleared the sea in one jump and reached the other side. He had no need of a bridge. All laugh. We all, in the Ramayana, we read that Hanuman just flew over the ocean and reached Ganga. That's what we say. We never hear he engaged a boat or boatman or something like that. How he reached Lanka. From this side to that shore, definitely he had reached. Clearly because of his faith in Rama, he took his name and took a giant leap. He was on the other side. Once a man was about to cross the sea, Vibhishana wrote Rama's name on a leaf, tied it in a corner of the man's wearing cloth, and said to him, "Don't be afraid, have faith and walk on the water. But look here, the moment you lose faith, you'll be drowned." The story is given in more detail somewhere else. When some person somehow was washed ashore and came into Lanka. So the news was brought to Vibhishana. I think the Rakshasas would have consumed him as very great delicacy. But when the news reached Vibhishana was the king, he said, "Bring him. He's Rama's clan. Bhagavan Ramchandra came in human form. Another person has come, he's also a human man like that. Please." Then with great honor they treated him, etc., etc. On the way back it was found that the sea was so turbulent, how to cross. Then he tied something in the man's cloth, the corner of his cloth, and said, "You just go, walk on the water, never try to look at what it is, you will cross it safely." So, the man was walking easily on water. Suddenly, he had an intense desire to see what was tied in his cloth. He opened it and found only a leaf with the name of Rama written on it. "What is this?" he thought. "Just the name of Rama?" As soon as doubt entered his mind, he sank under the water. So you see Vibhishana's faith in Rama. This man, he was walking, is okay. Vibhishana knew if I tie Rama's name to this man's cloth, he can reach anywhere absolutely safe, unharmed. See Vibhishana's greatness. He had absolute faith. That's why he said, "You don't look at anything, simply cross the sea. But if you doubt it, you are gone." So that person drowned. If a man has faith in God, even if he has committed the most heinous sins, such as killing a cow, Gohatya was considered a great sin, at least according to Hindu tradition. A Brahmin or a woman, he will certainly be saved through his faith. Meaning, see, all of us carry the burden of so many janmas, samskaras, karma bandhanas, as they say. It is the Guru, how does he remove the bondage? Is it not? Ajnanatimirandasya jnananjana shalakya chakshunilmitamena tasmai Sri Gurave Namah Aneka janma samprapta karmendhana vidahine Atma Jnana Pradanena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namah. By giving Atma Jnana, the Guru burns away the karma bandhanas of so many lives. So for us, our Guru, our Ishta, everything else is Ramakrishna. So he says, if a person has that faith, even if he has committed the most heinous crime, he will be redeemed. He will certainly be saved through his faith in God. He says, only he has to say to God, "Oh God, I will not repeat this action and need not be afraid of anything." Because, like you have in some traditions, there is a room where you can go and confess all your sins and again come back and do something again next week, again do. That will not help. One has to be determined, say that, "No, I will not do it again." And once you turn a new leaf and lived such a life, and obviously one will be taken forward in the spiritual journey and all the sins, etc. will be forgotten. That's why there is a saying, no saint is there without a past and there is no sinner without a future. Everybody, people have to evolve. So when you understand in a deeper sense, deeper philosophical, what is all this? all relate to world of Maya, world of Mithya, world of unreality, world of impermanence. What is good, what is bad, what is all that? They're all nothing. You have to go far beyond all that. Good, good, bad, bad, go beyond both. Says Sannyasin, Om Tat Sat Om. Swamiji says in his song of the Sannyasin, let us all be there to go beyond all that. Even, it's not only sin, even goodness is a bondage. Quite often, one senior monk told us, quite often you'll find that people who are apparently little wicked or something, they seem to progress faster than the so-called good people. For them, because the goodness itself is a bondage. Why? Because we always have to keep that image, I am good. I am good to everybody. This is my nature. People should know that I am good. So in that effort to keep our goodness, we lose track of our spirituality. But a person who does not care if his past is like that, is not considered a great soul. For him or her, fearlessly they can go ahead because they have nothing to care for. They know they have already been labeled as so and so, they don't care. Their only idea is how to go forward in spiritual life. And Thakur sings that beautiful song, Durga Nam. If you can pass away repeating Durga's name, how canst thou come, O Blessed One? Withhold from me deliverance, wretched though I may be. In this, no comparison to some of these beautiful Bengali songs, written in very simple Bengali, colloquial Bengali you can say, and so full of wonderful meaning. Wretched though I may be, how can you hold deliverance from me, O Mother Durga, if I pass away taking your name? I may have stolen a drink of wine or killed a child unborn, or slain a woman or a cow, or even caused a Brahmin's death. But though it all be true, nothing of this can make me feel the least uneasiness, for through the power of thy sweet name, my wretched soul may still aspire even to Brahmanhood. Once I take your name, I am eligible for the highest. There is no stoppage. Nothing can stop me from realizing the highest. Whatever I might have done, it's all. See, it's like if you understand very deeply, if one really goes to that level of understanding, then everything would become completely insignificant, irrelevant, meaningless, even to think of all that. It's all gone, finished. That's why when people would come to Mother, some would say in Udbodhan, she always used to stay on the first floor. People have to go through the steps and reach her. Sometimes like that had happened. Some woman, she was standing below. No, I am not fit even to come into your presence. I am saluting you from here itself. Said, no, you come. She forced her to come. She hugged her and said, no, surrender everything at the feet of Sri Ramakrishna. I will give you Diksha. Very soon she gave, because she knew all these are all absolutely irrelevant, meaningless, provided you go to the next stage. You see, all that we care for, all that we possess, all that we treasure in this world, everything is relating to the domain of the senses, is it not? Whatever we enjoy, whatever we hear, whatever we eat, whatever we possess, all that. So if you really go to a spiritual world, a different realm, all these are all in one swipe kept away. With good, bad, everything goes in just one sweep. So that's why the great souls, they never used to bother about what you have done or what you have not done. Is there that resolve in you to turn a new leaf, to really turn to spiritual life? That's enough. Pointing to Narendra, the master said, you all see this boy? He behaves that way here. Thakur Sahib ne chup kare baise thakte. In Thakur's presence, he always used to sit quiet. A naughty boy seems very gentle when with his father, but is quite another person when he plays in the Chandni, when he is amongst his friends running about. Narendra and people of his type belong to the class of the ever-free, Nitya Siddha. They are never entangled in the world. Ramkrishna knew so much. See, he himself was so sattvic in nature. He can't take the food touched by X, Y, or Z. Only the purest person has to cook. So much restrictions regarding his food, this, that. But whatever people might bring, he will happily give to Narendra. This is like a blazing fire. Kolagash Pudejab, even a plantain tree will be burnt to ashes in that blazing fire. So he never used to bother. He can take anything. Thakur himself was so sattvic, he would not take. But anything could be given to Narendra. He says he belongs to the class of ever free. They are never entangled in the world. When they grow a little older, they feel the awakening of inner consciousness and directly go towards God. So is always, this is a major point of discussion or debate. Those who are of that nature, the ever free, even for that matter, avatars and others, are they from very birth, they exhibit that complete godliness or that total freedom or that extraordinary nature? Probably not. Because if it happened, then there won't be any Leela at all. It would all look magical from day one. First, initially, there are signs of humanness in them also. Thakur also used to play, joke, run about here and there. He used to have fun, sweets and so on and so forth. As they grow up slowly, then more and more of the divine nature takes over. It starts manifesting. Along the route, they also do what is called sadhana. All for the sake of humanity. They don't need any sadhana. To show us the way, to show us the marga, to show us the path, they also undertake tremendous spiritual discipline, etc. So this awakening happens slowly. As they grow, the humanness and the human side of the personality becomes less and less. And the divine nature, the divinity starts manifesting more and more. At one point of time, it's all divine. There's hardly anything of the humanity left. And around the time or slightly after, they give up the body and go back. They are no longer there. Ramkrishna also say, it's a time when too many people recognize me. When they know about my nature, I no longer stay here. It's not possible. The world cannot contain. Someone is totally awakened to the divine nature. It will be like a blazing fire. So at that, probably towards just before their exit or a little before that, that's the time when it's at the pinnacle. So on one day on Kashipur, it just might touch awakened scores of people's spiritual nature. Each one of them had tremendous, extraordinary spiritual awakening. Each one, without exception, whosoever was touched that day. Shatma writes, in his room, we have often seen such things happen. Every now and then we have seen this happen. But just openly, in front of everyone, just proclaiming to the world his own extraordinary divine nature, as if the complete exhibition of the Leela of Sri Ramakrishna, the Avatara, that day he did it when so many were awakened. See, all these have a tremendous another aspect, or a divine aspect, or a hidden aspect also. See, that one incident, that was so necessary for ordinary people. Sri Ramakrishna was extremely well known. They had been fully understood by a small group of his disciples. But that one day's incident, when now 2 lakhs, 3 lakhs people come on Kalpataru Day to Kashipur, because they know that this is a place it will happen. See, to instill faith in people, to give that kind of completeness or pushti to the avatara, these kind of manifestations happen. So Thakur himself says, Jawarage, hate hadi bhengi diye jave. Before I leave, I'll break open the pots in the marketplace and then leave. Make everything public. After that, it would have been impossible for him. Because he was so sick by that time, people could not approach him. A large number of people could not come at all. Because there were tremendous restrictions. He was really on his last lap of journey, so to say. He was lying in his bed with just only skin and bone, nothing else. So at that time, this extraordinary revelation happened. They are never entangled. They feel the awakening of inner consciousness and go directly towards God when they grow a little older. They come to the world only to teach others. They never care for anything of the world. They are never attached to woman and gold. Nothing would touch them. They are never bothered with what others say. Fearless, absolutely. Not caring for anything. So much, even under difficult circumstances. Because they are never touched by anything in the world. Swamiji, when he was in the West, in some hotel, they refused to entertain him, thinking that he was a Negro. But then somebody told him later on, Swamiji could have told that you are not a Negro. Swamiji became furious. What? Have I come here to gain something at the expense of someone else? That's not my nature. So he simply walked away. He didn't care. So otherwise, in a place like America, imagine some 130 years ago to go and sit on the doorstep of someone without anything, just that whatever he was wearing, no money, nothing in his pocket, just like a traditional sannyasin. He went and sat the doorstep of Mrs. Mary Hale on the opposite side, on the house on the opposite side actually. Then she came out and saw, and then she took him inside her house. It was not exactly on her doorstep, on the doorstep of the house opposite to her house. So why? Because he always knew that deep within he was that true sannyasin. That was his real nature. Nothing else mattered. Later on we see, often we have beautiful picture that silk coat and turban and so attractive a figure dressed like that. He never cared. It was very, very different. The Vedas speak of, they are never attached to woman and gold. The Vedas speak of the Homa bird. It lives high up in the sky, and there it lays its egg. As soon as the egg is laid, it begins to fall, but it is so high up, it continues to fall for many days. Then the egg is hatched, then the chick comes out, then it is just going towards the earth. If it falls, it will be broken to pieces. Then at some point of time, it realizes, and then it reverses journey, goes upward, and then is back in the sky flying. So he says, that means what? Although they were born, etc., they never touch the world. Nothing in the world touches them. So he gives the example is Homa bird. I don't know what kind of bird, whether it is a proverbial Homa bird, whatever it is. But the example is this. It means that just as the chicken or the young one of a Homa bird never touches the earth, never acquires any of the qualities of this earth, in the same way the ever free, the Nitya Siddhas, they are never touched by anything in this world. They are always above. At this point, Narendra left the room. Probably was feeling a little embarrassed. No, Thakur used to praise him so much. In fact, sometimes he had even got so angry when Kedar and when Keshav, Vijay Krishna Goswami and Narendra was sitting there in his room. He was looking after, first he looked at Keshav, then at Vijay, then at Narendra. Then after they left, he says, you see, the qualities for which Keshav is so famous, Narendra has 18 such qualities. And then become furious. Are you mad? What are you saying? He's a world famous orator and all that. I'm a mere boy. What are you saying? Then as usual, Thakur immediately went to mother. He has one single point of reference, single window nowadays, say in the bank for everything, you go to the same one counter for everything. And for him, the single reference was mother. Simply went there, came back, Doshala. Ami tumhar kotha vishwas korban. You rascal, I will not believe you. Mother has told me. I am not saying it 100% true. What 18? Maybe he should have said 1800 qualities compared to Keshav Sundar Sen. Who knew at that time? He was just a youngster coming like that. But Thakur Nothing ever came out of his mouth which was not true. Whatever he said was true. Because the same quality, in a way, Narendra also had. That's why he was so close to Sri Ramakrishna. His love of truth, his adherence. I think probably Sister Christine or somebody writes, when he heard him, the first word he spoke was true. The second word, third word. Whatever he spoke, everything was true. That was Swamiji. You see, Narendra, at this point, Narendra left the room. Kedar, Pran Krishna, Yam, and many others remained. Master, you see, Narendra excels in singing, playing on instruments, study, and everything. Because in Bengali, he went even further. Gaite bajate, abar jitendriya biye korbena, isa bolechilen. And so here in English, they have translated it. He excels in singing, playing instruments, everything. The other day, he had a discussion with Kedar and tore his arguments to shreds. You cannot translate those Bengali expressions into English at all. They have attempted, okay. Cut his arguments to shreds. All laugh. Yam. He said, to Yam, he said, is there any book in English on reasoning? Why? Because Yam was always reasoning, arguing. So he's asking, is there any book on reasoning, logic? Yes, sir, it is called logic. Tell me what it says. So Yam was trying to explain. One part of the book deals with reduction from the general to the particular. You go from generalization to a particular. It says, all men are martyrs. Scholars are men. Therefore, scholars are martyrs. And again, another part deals with method of reasoning from particular to the general. He says, this crow is black, that crow is black, the crows we see everywhere are black, therefore all crows are black. Like that he was all explaining. He himself was feeling how to explain. So, Ramakrishna barely heard these words. While listening, he became absent-minded. So the conversation did not proceed far. He says, "Aar bichar korbe na to, tell me, assure me that he will never argue again." Yam had to give word, yes, I will not do. And he stopped. The first time, the thrashing he received, it's written, this is the first and last time Yam ever argued with Sri Ramakrishna. That was the end of it. When the meeting broke up, the devotees sauntered in the temple garden. Yam went in the direction of the Panchavati. It was about 5 o'clock in the afternoon. After a while, he returned to the master's room. There in the small north veranda, he witnessed an amazing sight. This was Yam's earliest introduction to Sri Ramakrishna. He had never heard about this proposition, this idea called Samadhi and all. He was seeing Sri Ramakrishna standing still, surrounded by a few devotees, and Narendra was singing. Yam had never heard anyone except the master sing so sweetly. When he looked at Sri Ramakrishna, was struck with wonder. The master stood motionless, with eyes transfixed. He seemed not even to breathe. A devotee told Yam that the master was in Samadhi. Yam had never before seen or heard of such a thing. He had never heard what is this Samadhi. He had not read Yoga Sutras or things like that. Silent with wonder, he thought, is it possible for a man to be so oblivious of the outer world in the consciousness of God? How deep his faith and devotion must be to bring about such a state. You see, what we get, by tradition, by parampara, is something immeasurable treasure we have got. All these have been witnessed by people who have lived with Sri Ramakrishna. In our case, we can very easily trust, have faith, and go ahead. Because people have seen, people have tested. Somebody even put his finger and touched Sri Ramakrishna's eyelid when he was in Samadhi to see whether it was true. There was no reaction. Then he understood this is what it is. How one can go beyond their senses. See, whenever Sri Ramakrishna, in his case, it was always that position. He was just about somehow managing to live in this transactional world, in the world of the senses. He really did not belong to it at all. After all that extraordinary spiritual experiences he has had, only because of the grace of Divine Mother, he was living in the state of Bhavamukha, just on the threshold between the highest Advaita and this earthly world. So, although he was like that, any occasion, any extraordinary, because Narendra's singing was really of a transcendental nature, so to say. When he hears such songs, or when he saw people like Rakhal, who were so pure and so holy and so spiritually inclined, immediately that again he would, that inner awakening, inner remembrance of the real nature of which would come, and he would be transported to the supersensuous world, or the world of the Advaita, or the highest. And again, with great difficulty, through some measure or other, how that happens, there is no explanation for that. Somehow he would take the help of some idea that I would drink water, or something. Although he was in that highest level of consciousness, still probably a trace, a minuscule element of something connected with the earthly level also was there. That's why the idea could get connected, the idea of taking a sip of water or having, because if you are completely immersed in samadhi, a person in samadhi would never say that I will take a glass of water, I will have.
It is your person.
Although he was in that, that's why, see, Ramakrishna's spiritual states, his consciousness, whatever he did, what he made, so can't be really understood at all by ordinary people. We can't really have even a glimpse of what he had. That's why he himself says somewhere, these realizations have gone beyond the Vedas. At the highest level, being in samadhi, but still, it's also possible to come down. Otherwise, he would have been gone once and for all. But he would come back. Again, he would go. So some little he would come. So this coming down and having a trace of something is not coming down and getting completely merged in worldliness. Just enough to keep him afloat in this world. So that he lives in this world for that namesake, to be called someone living in this world to that extent. And then simply he goes up like that at every conceivable occasion. Narendra was singing, meditate, O mind, on Lord Hari, the stainless one, pure spirit through and through. How peerless is the light that in him shines. How soul bewitching is his wondrous form. How dear is he to all his devotees. Obviously, when Sri Ramakrishna hears all these songs, immediately his mind soars, because it's a complete connect with what was being sung. It is as if his own nature is being expressed through those words in those songs. And immediately that Uddipana comes and he goes into the transcendental sphere. Ever more beauteous in fresh blossoming love that shames the splendor of a million moons. Million moons are shamed by the splendor. Like lightning gleams the glory of his form, raising erect the hair for very joy. Haripulation. Such a wondrous form is a form of Hari that enchants, that puts to shame a million moons. The master shuddered when this last line was sung. Because he could immediately, it's not just words, immediately he lives, his very nature is being expressed in those words. Now and then his lips parted in a smile. His hair stood and in tears of joy streamed down his cheeks. Was he seeing the peerless beauty of God that shamed the splendor of a million moons? Was this the vision of God, the essence of spirit? How much austerity and discipline, how much faith and devotion must be necessary for such a vision? M wonders, but M would know. Of course, Ramakrishna did unbelievable sadhana. Even ghosts would be driven away. That kind of a sadhana. No human being could ever think of. Days, months without food, without sleep, that kind. But it's just not only sadhana. Sadhana, whatever it is for our sake, to prove to the world that it is necessary to sadhana. And through sadhana it's possible. But once that awakening happens, once his real nature is awakened, every occasion would connect him to that, would remind him of his own deep, extraordinary nature, and that would bring tears of joy in his eyes. There will be horripilation, and he would be transported to a different realm altogether. We can stop here. We can, if you have questions, we can answer. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat. Shri Ram Krishna Arpanamastu. Because, see, we are studying, all right, but it's a very, very difficult text. So let us read slowly. See, more and more, if you can really, even in a small way, appreciate that extraordinary nature of Sri Ramakrishna, then our life will be full of joy, beauty, spiritual inclination, the desire to do sadhana, not being bothered too much with the world. All that and much more would happen by His grace and blessings.
Bhakti Purna Pranam Maharaj.
Are Pranam.
Okay, so any questions? So Maharaj, we keep hearing that Thakur did not need to do any sadhana, but in spite of that, he did so much of sadhanas. I mean,
yes.
He did not sleep for days. So why was it required so much of sadhana?
See, it was not for his sake.
Yes.
He did it for the sake of the world. To show what real sadhana means. To what extent one has to do sadhana. What is the ultimate pinnacle? What is the limit? See, half an hour, 1 hour, 15 minutes, we think that we have done. We say, see his life. That is sadhana. Is it possible? Yes. Here is someone has done it in a human form. To show to the world. He was God himself. For it, obviously, he does not need. But because he had assumed a human form, he had to go through certain aspects of human life. Otherwise, he would be God from day one. So he did. He showed everything. He also felt deeply sorrowful when his father passed away and all that. All that is like any other human being, any other mortal frame. But everything to the highest. See, even, when one day, Girish Ghosh, I think, probably spoke something. As usual, he was very famous for his nasty words. But Sri Ramakrishna went to such an extent, he said, in this also you are my guru, I can't beat you even in this. I say, Galiya diya, Thakur, even unmatched. So, if he puts his mind to anything, it was different.
So does that mean that in our, for us householders, we have to do so much to that extent, or?
No, Sri Ramakrishna himself says, whatever I did, you do a portion. Okay. I have shown you the peak. You do according to Lajamude Badhyada. Whatever is, you give up, whatever is not beyond you. Okay. Whatever is beyond you, give up. Do to the extent possible. But always never rest satisfied on your laurels. Because Tare Bada, there's more to it. You can do much more. So when that is there, that will give us a sense of humility, and otherwise people do a little, they think that they have achieved something and they are very proud. No. This is nothing. We can do much more. This is what he has done and shown.
Right. So Maharaj, one way to, yes, if we should not give up, we should go on continuously evolving. But what happens in that, from my personal experience, I'm saying that permanent kind of a discontent settles in.
Yeah.
Am I doing enough? Or am I...
No. Yeah, that is very necessary. That is what would keep you going in spiritual life. The spiritual discontent is extremely necessary for sadhakas. If we're satisfied, we will never do it. Stop there. discontent, we will do more. Again, we know, yes, we have not done enough. No one can say he has done enough. You see, when Yatishwaranji it was time for his sannyas. Time in those days, 3 years, 4 years after joining also, they would give, because Raja Madan was there. So he went and did pranam. And if you think that I am worthy, please give me a sannyas. Raja Madan said, no, nobody is worthy of sannyasa, but I will bless you, I will give you a sannyas.
So but then inner joy that we talk about, that when you take up spirituality, we talk about that inner joy and contentment and bliss. So then when do we get that? We're doing it all inner content. So
see, they would go together. See, you'll feel happy when you see, there should be a deep sense of happiness and joy when we take God's name. Otherwise it becomes a strain.
Right.
That is not, that's not true. See, if you do sadhana with deep longing, love of God, if you really love Ram Krishna, Mother, then your sadhana would give you happiness, joy. You'll be happy to take their name. But you'll not rest content because I've done. No. So this discontent can coexist with deep joy or happiness in spiritual striving or sadhana.
Thank you, Maharaj. So this was one little question in my mind which is bothering me. So thank you. Anyone else?
Yes, Sandhya is putting up her hand.
Sandhya. Yes, Sandhya. Go ahead.
Probably Sri Ramakrishna feels that kind of bhakti in doing the mantra japa, like not taking any stress, because if we take stress in completing our japa, we are extremely on the other side, no? Like we find it very tough, right? So when we do it with joy properly, he feels it will really take us into another.
Yes, sadhana should be done. It should produce happiness. We should be happy to do our sadhana. Yes. That is a big thing in spiritual life.
And
most of us do it with strain. Huh?
Yes. So, Maharaj, in different regions we have external disciplines, right? So, the one who are initiated with mantra japa, is it necessary to follow those disciplines, or we stick only to mantra japa, that is enough?
No, see, discipline in life, external disciplines, I don't know whatever you mean by that. They're all different.
No, like we have different things, we have certain external things in rituals and all. That's what I mean.
Rituals, see, along with our initiation and all, we are not given any rituals and all that. Simple form, keeping Thakur's picture, sitting in place and asan, that's all. External little minimum purity and then sitting like that, that's all we are asked. Beyond that, whatever one likes, there are people who put up a shrine and do puja and all that, it's all their own. It's never said as part of Diksha. Diksha is main. You have to do the japa and slowly over a period of time, dhyana also.
But Maharaj, the inner joy comes by itself. So we don't have to ask for it, or we don't have to say that I am with joy and all this. It automatically comes out of nothing, actually.
See, that is not something you can borrow or ask for and all that. If you are, if the sadhana is backed by love for our Ishta, love for ideal, love for God, then there will be joy in that. Otherwise, it is, of course, still we should do. We can't give up like that. But then if you really are into it that way, then it will produce great joy and satisfaction also. Okay. Namaskar. Thank you.
Thank you, Maharaj. Pranams.
Mother willing, we'll meet next month. Thank you.
Pranam Maharaj.
Pranam.